All right, let's jump right in. Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're unpacking something that is quite literally shifting the very foundation of modern football. And get this, the most monumental changes, they aren't happening with those flashy blockbuster transfers or tactical masterclasses out on the pitch. Nope, they're happening silently, right behind closed doors in the boardroom. We're going to break down exactly how the rules of the money game are being completely rewritten.
So what if the biggest changes in football aren't actually happening on the pitch? It's kind of a wild thought, right? But modern football has become incredibly, unbelievably expensive. Just to keep up, clubs need absolute mountains of cash to upgrade stadiums, build those cutting-edge training facilities, and just compete financially. Because of this, brand new financial frameworks and private investment rules are quietly reshaping the sport we love. They're changing how clubs operate on a daily basis and ultimately how massive global tournaments might be run in the future.
So how did we actually get here? Let's rewind a bit. Back in 2015, FIFA cracked down hard on outside money. They implemented a super strict ban on third-party player ownership. The argument was, hey, allowing outside investors to own a slice of a player's future transfer rights, that totally compromises sporting integrity. Makes sense, right? But jump to today, and we're looking at a completely different ballgame. We now have a framework for regulated private investment. Basically, instead of banning outside money entirely, FIFA realized, well, clubs absolutely need capital just to survive. So looking ahead to the future, we're entering this new era of long-term capital partnerships. These are designed to pump funds into clubs, while, in theory at least, keeping all those crucial sporting decisions strictly independent. Okay, so you might be wondering, what are the actual boundaries here? What's allowed and what isn't? Well, what remains strictly forbidden is owning a player's future transfer rights. That 2015 ban, it absolutely stands firm. But here's the massive shift. Private investment firms can now pour money into physical assets. They can finance massive stadium infrastructure, build those state-of-the-art youth academies, and they can even take minority stakes in the clubs themselves. Supporters of this approach argue that it's a real game changer for smaller clubs, helping them modernize and actually compete without drowning in crippling bank debt.
And this is where things get really interesting, taking us straight from the club level all the way up to the world stage.
This newfound acceptance of private equity at the club level seems to have, well, inspired FIFA's top brass. It's led to this incredibly controversial proposal by Gianni Infantino to completely restructure the World Cup itself. The big plan? Create a new subsidiary called FIFA Forward Enterprise. And there's this entity called Thrive Eternal that's actually proposed taking over the commercial, broadcast, and ticketing rights for FIFA's entire tournament portfolio. But here's the catch, and it's a big one. Thrive Eternal is a permanent holding company. So unlike traditional private equity that usually wants to swoop in, make a profit, and cash out in 5 to 10 years, they buy to control things indefinitely. Any sale here means permanently handing over a stake in the World Cup's commercial engine. Now brace yourself, because here is the staggering figure driving this whole conversation. $20 billion. That is the absolute mountain of cash FIFA hopes to raise by selling off this slice of its commercial operations. To put that massive number into perspective for a second, the upcoming 2026 World Cup, that's expected to generate around $15 billion in total overall revenue. So a $20 billion investment play is a highly, highly aggressive move. It's designed to immediately cash in on the explosive global popularity of the sport. But how on earth do you get 211 different member associations from all over the globe to just agree to sell off a piece of football's absolute crown jewel? Well, you contrast that huge $20 billion pot with an immediate $20 million payout. Under this plan, FIFA is promising an instant $20 million windfall to every single one of its 211 member associations, just for approving the deal before September 19th deadline. Plus, they're promising over $60 million more by 2038. Think about it. If you're a smaller association like San Marino, Gibraltar, or New Caledonia, this isn't just a nice little bonus. We're talking about a completely life-changing level of funding. However, not everybody is rushing to sign on the dotted line here. UEFA, the powerhouse confederation that runs European football, has been incredibly blunt. Their exact words? The sport is not FIFA's to sell. UEFA, along with other bodies like CONCACAF, have launched a fierce pushback against this plan. Their core argument is that selling off permanent influence over the sport's biggest prize crosses a fundamental line, a line that governing bodies should literally never cross. So we're basically watching a high-stakes political chess match play out right now, with two completely different viewpoints. On one side, Infantino argues this is all about vital global development. He sees it as a way to take massive global revenues and make sure they actually trickle down to fund the smallest, most remote footballing nations that usually get passed over. But on the flip side, UEFA fears devalued tournaments and a total loss of sporting control to financial investors. Actually, UEFA is even floating the nuclear option, a potential boycott of the 2030 World Cup. Now, remember, UEFA only has 55 members, and Infantino just needs a simple majority from the 211 global members to pass this. But I mean, if European nations who have won 5 of the last 7 World Cups refuse to play, the tournament kind of loses its meaning, right?
So what does this all mean for you and me, the fans watching from the couch? Well, if investors are dropping $20 billion, they are for sure going to demand a massive return on that investment. How might they squeeze that out? Here are a few ways we might see it. First up, commercialized hydration breaks. Reports are already suggesting those 3-minute water pauses are worth millions to broadcasters. They could easily become a regular, heavily sponsored thing. Second, Netflix-style direct-to-consumer streaming. Instead of watching on regular TV, you might have to cough up for a pricey subscription directly to a FIFA app. And we could totally see aggressive dynamic adjustments to ticket pricing for the everyday fan who just wants to go to a game. Finally, number 3, expanded tournament frequency. To keep those revenues climbing, investors might push for the World Cup to happen more often than every 4 years, or just expand the tournament even further than they already have.
Which brings us to our final question, and honestly, it's a pretty profound one to wrap up this explainer. Are these rules a smart way to strengthen football financially, or will they fundamentally reshape the game we know over the long haul? We're standing at a true crossroads for the sport. On the one hand, you have the promise of unprecedented, sustainable global funding for smaller nations and vital club infrastructure. But on the other, you have the potential permanent financialization of the sport's ultimate prize, driven by permanent holding companies. We've laid out the facts straight from the boardroom. But what do you think about the future of football's financial soul? Is this going to help the game grow, or are the risks to fans and sporting integrity just way too high? I'd really love for you to chew on that and share your perspective. Thanks for hanging out with me for this explainer, and remember to always keep questioning the game behind the game.